so I can go back to Stacy and just say, you know,
Yeah.
Now it costs us 30,000 to put poles down there, you're looking at probably 3 times as far. So,
and 3 times as hard. That was not near a building. It was, they could have hit a train, but not a building.
Was there original pricing coinciding with the construction of the
Just send a
downtown?
note, just
Streetscape?
send a note with the.
With the sidewalks being removed?
I think they actually did that beforehand for us, didn't they? And then when they buried it, I think our street sidewalk went over top of it. So I think it kind of, they did it in front of it, and then the streetscape was right behind it. But streetscape couldn't pay for it.
Would their cost for this, what they looked at, were they talking about just going in and doing it regardless of what's going on with construction? Or were they doing it, pricing it to coincide with construction? Because it would, in my mind, make a big difference is if the sidewalk was torn up
Yeah.
and they didn't have to tear it up, they didn't have to fix it
Yeah.
back.
The original price was not based on the Riverwood construction, it was just,
Yeah, they
it
didn't
was
put
out- it
anything
was
back.
outside of that.
They just pulled down poles.
Okay.
And then I think we paid for the pipe and everything for the wires to the room, I believe. I don't think we, I think that was our expense on there. I could be wrong about that, but, I think it would be less to do it while we're under construction, myself. I don't think you're gonna do it for 100,000.
So do you think you would just give us a basic estimate and we can talk about it next Tuesday? And at least that part of it next Tuesday, if he can get.
Maybe we can get him to come to our meeting next
That
Tuesday,
would be a good idea. Talk with him, Tommy.
because Tommy has looked at it really often. And then that way, I'm not gonna feel bad if it falls apart and feel like I've had Stacy do a lot of work and,
well, that way they can give us maybe a call.
Yeah. If they could just come to me, that'd be great.
okay,
Next week.
we'll work on that.
So we'll put that part of that aside until next week, but the rest.
But be thinking about it, and be aware that it's gonna come up. Okay, then, do you wanna make your motion again, since we messed it up?
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have him do the engineer plans, and he's gonna do it based on the master plans for East Main Street from Depot to Mountain Street or Messer Street?
He needs,
Messer, okay.
he needs to work on the sidewalk to Mountain Street in front of the 500 building. So you need to go ahead and do it to Mountain Street, because that is an issue.
So we're gonna have to take that asphalt up?
That's not, we didn't pour it in the first place. We didn't do it. John
No,
Swab did that.
She's talking about asphalt, you're talking about concrete.
Yeah, but
She's
you're talking about
sidewalks,
asphalt and concrete both with him, but he needs to look at that and engineer it to where we can fix that sidewalk issue. That's one of our biggest trip hazards in the city, is that sidewalk.
Okay, all right, so I'll
So
make
to
a
Mountain
motion.
Street.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to hire Carter and Sloop to do the engineer plans for East Main Street from Depot Street to Mountain Street.
Yes, okay, do I,
Based on the plans from the master, from the master plan design for East Main Street.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, perfect. Okay, Blue Ridge Scenic Railway.
Again, I think there was some confusion on the last meeting when I made a motion to allow the scenic railway to fix their handicap and safety issue that's going into the ticket office. But because I had mentioned other things that needed to be done, it was a little confusing on as to whether that motion was for that. I did not mean for it to, I just was specifically referring to the ramp. So what we need to decide is do we want, because those things still need to be completed, so we need to decide do we want to have those things done by the city, our city employees, or just allow the scenic railway to get them completed in invoices. They do need to be addressed, though.
I think at this point, with everything we've got going on with walls falling, et cetera, our guys are pretty stressed. I say just let them do it and
Okay.
invoices. Be easier for them.
Okay.
Well,
You think,
the let me ask a question too, because you know, there's a drainage issue there underneath. I really think we probably need to look at that piece also, just to make sure, because water still ponds up under there some. Okay. And they had thought when Bill had a gravel bed put under there and they ditched it, I believe. I've never looked at it, I just know what they told me they were doing.
Well, it's supposed to be a sump pump put in there
And
too.
Yeah, and there's not a sump pump, but I don't know that a sump pump is even gonna work with that situation either. But you've got to look at the sewer and stuff anyway, where we're talking about the bathroom,
Building,
the issues under the building. So if he could look at that for us also while they're up here, that would be great. Because that might be a little more involved than even what they want to tackle. Or, you know, and Matt may come back to Mark and them and say, hey, I'm open this up and put you a drain pipe in. But I would like to look at that too, if that's okay. Does anybody have an objection to that?
Right.
Okay. All right, so do you want to make a motion as to how you want to do that?
Well, I guess I need to ask y'all, Ron, do y'all have the staff or the employees or whatever to handle the issues that you
We
brought
do
to us?
now, we're slowed down a little bit.
Okay, okay. All right, well, I'll make a motion that we allow the Blue Ridge Scenic Railway to fix the issues that they presented to us at the council meeting.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay, Carter and Slope wastewater treatment plant.
I talked to Matt, about getting some grant money and things like that, and where we would kind of need to start. He said that he thought that, if we could do the temporary fix with the, things that James had presented to us before, that could carry us over until we could get the grants, in and then do an upgrade to the plant. He could probably explain it more in detail.
and I think we've talked about this before, but there's an overall larger scale project of wastewater treatment plant that we priced out for James, and then a phase one. What we are looking at now, I believe, is a $30,000, $40,000, phase one Band-Aid
With the aerator,
with aerator.
yeah, it's gonna be more than that.
Okay, what was that? Whatever.
50-something, I think, almost 54. I don't remember, but anyway, we approved to do it.
Right,
And we actually went with the better recommendation because it said that we had 3 to 5 years probably that we could get through to make it work.
that was a temporary fix with a problem, until you had the funds available for the large scale project, which was in upwards of 1.7, 1.8 million at the plant, plus several pump stations that I think the city needed to rehab or look at rehabbing, which we suggested if you're gonna do a large scale project, go ahead and go get everything done you want and go to USDA, where you can maximize your grant. If you wanted to do something smaller, or quicker, go to GFA, where there's a 20% principal forgiveness right now, and every December, that application turns in. So it's 20% principal forgiveness for a 20-year loan with GFA, or maximum of $3.5 million with USDA for a 40-year payback.
And in one of those upgrades, there's another building that's gonna have to be built at some point that's coming down the pipe in there, James.
Yeah, we put a new building for the sludge press.
So, I mean, when we do it, we need to get them up to speed and get them where they need to be.
So that 1.7 that you gave us a price on before, did that include everything in the other substations, or what did that include?
No, that was just at the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, it's about,
Because I'm not sure exactly how many pump stations we're talking about rehabbing, but I know Trackside Lane is now come up for discussion. And if there's 2 other ones besides that one, or 3 more.
Trackside, Aska, and,
There are 2 on Astor.
there's 2 of them.
So 3 total.
So that,
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about Trackside Lane with Bobby Davis in just a minute, so that may be a little bit of relief for us on that one. But the other 2, could we, so we could do those 2 through GFA?
Yes. Any kind of sewer rehab, it's very easily funded through GFA.
So, would it be best just to do it all, try to do a big, like if the project was gonna be the 1.7 plus another, I don't know, what, half a million for some, the other substations? If it's gonna be a $2.5 million project, would it be better just to go ahead and try to get funding for the whole thing, or just piece it out?
Depends on your time schedule. USDA is gonna take a year, 2 years to get the funding in place, and then the design. GEPA, you can move much more quickly.
GFA might be the answer for the ASCA substations and then roll those into our USDA, like we did the water plant.
GEPA is gonna be limited because it's only 20% principal forgiveness. It's a $500,000 max, but 20% is gonna cap you out earlier than the $500,000. So to do a large-scale project through GEPA, you're only gonna look at $500,000 grant with a 20% limit, where USDA, you get 45%, give or take, depending on the city's numbers, roughly 45%.
Wouldn't it be better just to let them do it all then, because you get more, you get
Yes.
more?
Unless you needed some portion done quickly.
Well, do you think we can, that we got, if we do this, spend this 50,000 that we're going to, would that get us through then, another couple of years then?
Should.
And that give you time then to try to get this worked out for us?
Yes, and I think y'all, some of y'all may have been around whenever CTI started the last year's project that we took over for the water treatment plant, the tank and water lines. It's a long process, so the sooner you see that you're gonna be 3 years out from needing that, you may start thinking about the process of getting the funding in place, knowing that it's your year construction time, a year, 6 months or so for the design and permitting. So you kind of back into, if you're 3 years out, you need to start with the funding process soon, or at least be thinking about it.
The one thing that we're gonna run into at this point is because our revenue in sewer is in the negative, we will have to do sewer rate increases to even qualify for the GFA loans that we'll need just to upgrade the
Yes.
substations.
For either funding source.
And then USDA is going to require some serious studies done on our sewer.
Well, USDA will require you to be at their threshold minimum, be grant eligible. Then anything beyond that, you need to repay the loan. And from what we saw with the last GEPA project for the meters, you don't have a lot of capacity to borrow in your current rates. So either one is going to require either rates, GEPA or USDA.
And we're only 35% capacity right now in sewer.
That's right.
So, when is our, I think you need to do the pump stations for sure. But like I said, we're gonna have something on one of them and we could do GFA maybe with that, but we're gonna have to have that rate increase to qualify. And it's on here, boy, I think you were supposed to put it on here.
Even if, for USDA, an update on it, even if we were to submit an application today, I don't think you're gonna have money available until 2017, because there was a backlog of projects they stirred up last year, this year, and they had an influx that overwhelmed them. They don't have enough money to fund what they've got in the pool already, so it's already pushed back into the 2016 money. So depending on how long it took us to get the application in, we may be looking at 2017, so.
If we go to what is it that we need to become,
Water first.
a water first community? Will that money apply for sewer, or is that just gonna be water? Because you can do that every year,
You could submit every year for CDBG, but that's water and sewer. Either
water
one.
and sewer. So would that actually do anything for the sewer plant, or is that just gonna be sewer lines?
To work on the sewer plant, your community has to be low mod income, and you're not gonna qualify. We can do pockets of the low income areas, but citywide, I don't think your city's gonna qualify.
Okay.
Because it's gotta be 80%, I believe, 70 to 80% low income.
Okay. All right, so,
So can we get both? Can we get the USDA and the GFA and use the GFA to do the 2 pump stations? And then
USDA would take
I think
them
if you had an immediate need for the pump station rehab, use the GFS RF, because you can get some principal forgiveness and solve that immediately. The longer range goals of the larger sewer project, I would go to USDA.
We have a need right now though for the pump stations.
Yes, we're spending a lot of money on maintenance on those pump stations, Jen. You actually had the one on Trackside Lane down the day that you came in for that meeting.
Yep.
And we're real concerned because some of the parts were so old or something, you were having a little bit of difficulty getting parts, is that
What
correct?
James has
Yeah.
sent me, that's a 1975 station for the pumps that are still the 1975 pumps, which are amazing that they're still running. They're still,
He wasn't sure if he was gonna be able to get it back running that day. He was having a lot of difficulty.
that's a long time for a pump station to be in service.
And the one on Ask is about the same time frame, isn't it,
These
74,
same,
75? Yeah. So the GFA application, I think, is gonna be important, and I think we're gonna have to probably go ahead and pursue that. I think y'all will be happy with Bobby's, what he's asking for today. But, so I think we'll be starting on one of them, so it's a matter of do you wanna start on all three and try to make that happen? They're all three gonna be similar when you design them, right?
We'd all be designing on the same
So
type
rather than
station that
having to
James has already
redo
done.
and redo. But remember, your rate increase has to be to where it qualifies for GFA also, right?
We have to be able to show repayment of the loan.
Yes.
So the more you borrow, the more you're going to have to show that you have the ability to repay.
You said that so much better than I did.
And on this, it's 20%, you're saying they'll,
Forgive me.
knock that, so if it's $7 million, we get knocked off, and then we repay $400,000.
That's
So
right.
you made me think I really did.
And which you're looking at that or more, probably, with three stations.
And so you're looking at a 1 to 2% interest rate. It's 1.03 to 2.03, depending on if we can convince them that it's water conservation and we're saving energy by not pumping stormwater, groundwater, then we can get them to reduce rate and we've got RU for. But it's a 20-year payback.
All right? Thank you to your.
What's the life of those pump stations? I mean, that one's lasted a lot longer than we think, but what's the normal life, 20 years?
25 years, not 40.
So you're always gonna have to buy, you're always gonna have to pay
At
for
least
these
the pumps, the
things.
concrete should hold up, but the pumps aren't expected to run 40 years.
Okay. All right, so do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, we go ahead and allow Matt to start work on, both of the, GFA and the USDA.
Okay. I was gonna say 3 times. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, parking on East Main Street and Church Street. Oh, that was added by me. One of the things that I have noticed where we have all of our parking that is marked off for unloading, we could actually utilize that on Saturdays and Sundays because we don't really have trucks down there. So if we put up signage that says that parking space is available on Saturdays and Sundays between certain hours or after hours on Friday, Monday through Thursday, because most delivery trucks come by 5 o'clock. Can we, do you think that would help? It's a good idea. Because I typically use those parking spaces on the weekends and I don't really need any tickets. So,
That's a good idea.
I mean, there's nobody using them, they're sitting there blank and there's nothing in them.
Do
And
we need
nobody's,
Do we need it in the form of a motion?
well, I just wondered if anybody had a better suggestion for those spaces.
What space is actually?
Loading and unloading spaces down there like in front of the Masonic Lodge, that's a big space and it's like 3 cars could probably get in there, maybe 4. And Saturdays and Sundays, nobody unloads there. There's really not any trucks in town on those days. And then there's a couple others on down through the streets, but if we put signage up that said parking spaces available during certain hours, either after 5 Monday through Friday or Saturday and Sunday from pretty much all day on Saturday and Sunday. But most of your trucks deliver Monday through Friday. That's not many spaces, but those are the days that we have the most trouble. And if we
I think we need to get that little alleyway access, no parking still, because I think that's where they park at down there. There's a little alleyway that runs beside it.
between the buildings, Okay.
And I think that's where they park, or they're having their little things on the weekend or whatever.
We could look at it and just mark that one off at all times.
Yeah, I
that
guess
it's-
give them a space so they can pull in there. I think that would make them happy.
The other thing, we had Dr. Hole's office and the doctor's office, I can't remember the doctor's office next door, and the drugstore. Mark did put up the signs. We approved 2 hours. We did not have a 2-hour sign that would work. He did a 1 hour. Renee has really asked that y'all call her. They like the 1 hour, even if somebody has to be there an hour and 10 minutes for a dental cleaning or whatever, or a root canal or whatever they're having to do. But we also felt like that those could be, and before we make signs, we wanted to make sure everybody was happy with it. The signs could actually say Monday through Thursday, and I think Friday's only half a day that they work, maybe till 12, and then that way they could be extended parking the rest of the time. She did say the one thing, the handicap did not work out really well for them because they are seeing lots of out-of-town cars that are parked there all day probably. They're not turning, the handicap spaces aren't. So she had asked if maybe we could do those handicap with maybe like a 2-hour limit or something. I don't know that I've ever seen a handicap with a 2-hour limit, but that way it wouldn't be somebody that leaves town for the day and doesn't come back, so. So she wanted to ask if y'all would consider just leaving the 1 hour, but adding the, after 5 they're closed, so you could park longer. Because we have a lot of events at night, and people park for extended stays. And we have a lot of restaurants that are down
Remind
there.
me to check with Roy on ADA to make sure we're not violating something by giving them a time limit, and I have some special rules somewhere.
I know, I don't know the answer to that.
So Roy would probably find that.
So does anybody have an issue with either one of those things? Okay. All right, sewer line on Bluetown Road, Bobby Davis and James Weaver. Bobby, you want to come up and talk about what you're wanting to do, or what you're planning to do, or what you're proposing to do?
Need to not fall off.
I've already done that.
What we propose to do is develop the old Stone Yard property. We have engineered a capacity of 80,000 gallons a day, and that should cover anything that we want to put there. We intend to, if we get the city's approval, to build a line from the old Taylor Jones Manufacturing Company, that manhole right there, down to our property at our cost. And then after we're finished with this approved, turn it over to the city. And we're willing to participate 50% in upgrading the pumping station, which will be handling that sewer.
And James has looked at that, and Matt's looked at it, and I think Mike Hampton and CTI looked at it years ago. Did you look at Mike's information?
Look at the CTI report that estimated around 450, and we did an estimate for getting that, and it looked like right at about 500 to rehab that station. But it's also taking the gravity line that you're talking about tying into. It's a 6-inch gravity line. James, I think, has done some research and confirmed that it is 6, which is undersized for what EPD allows as a minimum. So we would increase that 6-inch line to 8-inch, and then rehab the pump station.
Okay, so your amount is very close to the same thing as what CTI did years ago?
Right, 10 years ago, CTI was 445, I think, 450. Right at 5,500.
I talked to Mike Hampton yesterday, and he said for us to be sure to look at what they had proposed. He got all that information to us, and I sent it to Matt. I think it was last night before I got it all. And that is a pump station that really needs to be taken care of. And if we're going to add any new sewer customers, such as Bobby's development or anything else that you mentioned, Blue Town, I can see a lot of need down through there probably happening over the years.
That's the station that's 40 years old.
Yeah, and it really will need the support, so it's going to be one of those that we can apply through the GFA application to make that happen.
How soon, do you think that?
Well, they approved that just a second ago, so I think it depends on how fast Matt can work, and how fast Jifa can work at this point. And how quickly you want to pay your half.
Well,
No,
that's what
I'm
I'm asking.
teasing.
No, I don't want to pay it today and then wait 2 years to get sued.
Yeah, I was joking, but I think you have enough information to really move forward pretty quickly. You said 30 days or something like that?
60 days.
60 days, okay.
The one question I would have, we're getting up to the timeline to where, this being a sewer rehab, I think we were still within timeline of getting the environmental approved, get it cleared before the December 31st GFA deadline. If for some reason, because it is competitive, if you don't get funding for that 20% principal forgiveness, GFA still has the money to loan you 100% of it. Do we feel comfortable enough that we're gonna proceed with this project regardless of getting funding or not to start the design? Or
I think James is gonna tell you if we don't, he may not have a pump station.
Mhm.
Well,
And I think EPD's gonna tell us if we don't, and we have another problem down there, we have a huge fine. So I think regardless, unless somebody knows something I don't
well,
know,
we can do
we gotta
proof,
move
we
forward.
can do proof of funds and a letter of commitment to me.
Okay,
And, then it's just how long it takes you.
If we can
It
start.
sounds like an urgency on the pump.
We can start on the design in conjunction with the funding application, so it wouldn't hold up to where, once the funding's there, then we could be ready to bid and push this thing through.
So from upsizing that 6-inch line, to the pump station and, increasing the pump station or redoing it,
Yes, sir.
that is the number that you handed out.
Yes, sir.
All right, from the, manufacturing company down to our property, which is about a mile, give or take.
Right.
Is that line 6 or 8-inch line?
No, that's 6 inch, talking about on Blue Town?
Yeah.
I think it's 6 inch on Blue Town.
That's gonna be sufficient?
No, we were talking about replacing that with the 8 inch.
I'm talking about the one that I'm gonna build and give to the city from the factory down to my property. Is that a 6 or 8?
James, have we looked at that one? I don't know, is that a new line or is that?
No, we're gonna build it.
Okay, you're gonna build it, we would require, I would suggest the city require an 8 inch line.
That should cover anything in the future.
well, I think your engineer that day said it was gonna be an 8-inch line. Did I understand that?
I don't remember what.
No, he was talking about the line that's in place right now that goes across the floor.
Okay,
He was wondering if that was a 6-inch or 8-inch line.
okay,
That's 6 that we're gonna increase.
okay. I know that our time's out, but do you have any questions, James? Because I know you're very passionate about the sewer, making sure everything's okay there.
No, all that sounds good.
Okay, so,
I would just make a recommendation that when we take this line over, that we have somebody do some kind of inspection
Oh, yeah.
We
City
had
would be
discussions.
involved altogether.
to make sure we don't have any issues down the road.
we had discussion about that, and that we wouldn't take it over. I think our ordinance says we can't take it over for a year. Is that what
Yeah.
Becky had told me?
1 year of maintenance on our part.
And I'll get James to look over the plans before they put it in, and then have somebody there during construction. where he's coming
You
from.
met our engineer, he'll be on the job, and he'll supply you with a drawing that shows our plan.
Yeah, and one of my requests was that James would be able to come down and inspect the lines and things as it goes too.
He can bring my lunch every day.
So just to make sure that I'm clear on it, you're wanting the, and you are gonna do it at 50% cost, the sewer line from the one on Blue Town Road to the Stone Yard.
Yeah. No,
No,
we're gonna do 100% from the factory to the stone. And we're gonna participate 50% in the upgrading of the pumping station and the 8-inch line that gets there.
So you're gonna pay for the line too?
No, we're gonna pay 50%.
But, okay, I just thought it was a pump station, so,
When the line, I said, I
Well,
think you're saying,
I think that whole thing goes together as one package.
well, it does now that you said that, if we can afford it. So, okay, perfect. Okay. Anybody got a concern or questions? Okay, so do we want to make a motion to move forward with, we're moving forward anyway with the pump stations, but with them agreeing to pay half of that 8-inch upgrade in the pump station? Would you like to do that in a motion?
And with the proof of funds.
Yeah, I was thinking,
Motion?
I make a motion that we, go ahead and accept Mr. Davis's offer of the 50% funds and the proof of funds, for the 8-inch line upgrade.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Bob, your timing's good.
Okay, thank you. But, what I would need is a letter, from the city stating that, what our, that you accept our intent to build that line and we can do it from the city.
Yeah,
And
we'll
we'll
get,
give you a letter of intent and proof of funds for our half of the upgrade.
we'll get Matt to send us the information as to what he's proposing to do, and then we'll get that in a letter form. Kelsey will get that for you
All right,
and get something.
thank you.
We have to get everybody to give it the blessings, but we'll get it to you.
All right, thank you.
Quote for aeration for treatment tanks, James Weaver. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, this is just the part that, it's a blower for one of our wastewater treatment tanks. It crashed on us last week, and it was over the limit, our spending limit outside of the PO, so I had to come get approval to order one. We lose probably one or two of these a year.
$11,819.
No, that's the actual influent pump for the pump station. Aerator's 4,600.
Okay.
Would this not be considered an emergency operational expense that does not have to be approved?
Well, it's actually $49.55, $42 with the front.
No,
Does
we-
it-
we
does
have
it
to-
hinder your operation, James?
Yes.
Yes.
We have to have this sooner the better.
Yeah, I would consider that an emergency purchase where you shouldn't have to do that.
Okay.
I mean, Rodney and I do, do the rest of you agree?
I think if it's anything that's hindering the water plant or the
Let's
sewer
just be
plant.
safe, let's make a motion and approve it and be done.
I make a motion we approve James's request.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Well, let's say we got, which one do you recommend, James?
Well, just the lower quote from REP.
I make a motion we accept the lower quote from REP and let James go ahead and get
Do I have a second?
that.
All in favor? But James, that would actually be something you could have approved, just, we've done it just to make sure that, so.
Yeah, I would, if it happens again, I would just call Donna and, if it's something that's gonna affect the operation of the plant, I would consider that emergency.
I'm sorry. But if there's urgency on that pump, yeah, just let me know, and we'll try to do our half of that immediately, if there's a need for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Monumental equipment, quote for rebuild of inflow pump. That's the $11,819. Where is this pump going, James?
This is our biggest pump station. All the wastewater from town winds up on Industrial Park Road at the big pump station. What there is, there's 3 pumps sitting there.
Okay.
One is a spare. This is the spare, and we have 2 in operation now. We always keep the spare rebuilt, so if one crashes, we can set this one in the hole. And this is actually our spare that's needing rebuilt. They came in October and pulled all our pumps and inspected them. And this one had oil in the motor house, which was going to be rebuilt. It's sitting down there at their shop, but it's been about 16 years since we've had to rebuild one of these. They're big pumps.
How many years?
About 16 years since we've replaced or rebuilt any of them.
Well, I know, all of a sudden, it seems like everything is sewer. And this is my 6th year, and it's been sewer the last several months, so. Bless your heart, everything's tearing up on you. So do we have a motion to approve that?
Make a motion, we approve the purchase for $11,819.
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
All in favor? Okay, sewer rate increase, that was added by Becky Harkins. I know we've talked about it numerous times, I think everybody realizes, I think I've said it in enough meetings over the years. In sewer, we only have 35% capacity, and our rate is very low compared to most anybody that does sewer, and we're in the red. It's real simple. We gotta have a rate increase, we are never gonna be able to repair all these things. Becky had sent, Alicia and Becky had sent regarding the sewer rate increase, revenue was projected to be approximately $53,000 per month for 2016, totaling $636 a year. An estimate of $74,000 was added to the 2016 budget for proposed increase, detailed below, making 2016 revenue $710,000. With surcharge and tap fees of $9,000, the total sewer revenue equals $719,000. Total sewer expenditures for 2016, including administration, maintenance, and the treatment plant, are $721,453. So definitely let you know we've got to have the extra revenue, and this may not be our only rate increase if we've got to replace all these pumps.
I think in here, Vicky says that if we increase
$1.
$1 per 1,000 gallons, it'll generate 77,600 additional revenue for 2016.
Yeah, and they've added that into the budget basically because they knew we were going to have to do it.
So that 77 is already in the budget for 2016?
According to Alicia, she put $74,000 in.
Okay.